Well, it's warm out here in Cardiff. The sun's out, but let me tell you, the sun was shining on the Black Caps as it was hashtag back the Black Caps all the way. This is The Review. I'm Ridhima Pathak and I'll be joined by Ian Smith and Colin Munro, but in a bit. Well, great winning moments out there by the Black Caps out there. They were fantastic. The bowling was on point. We had Trent Boult there. We had Matt Henry. Well, every single bowler from the New Zealand team contributed. And then the batting came along. They wrapped up the Sri Lankan team in 136. And then they won by 10 wickets. Well, let me tell you, history has repeated itself. Well, because in 2015, New Zealand played its opening game against Sri Lanka and they had a rampant victory of 98 runs. And this time they did it again. And we've got the man out here who took the Kiwis to the finishing line. Well, Munro, fantastic. Great job by the team. You'll be very happy that they started on a winning note.
Yeah, great start. I thought, there was something obviously in the wicket, but the bowlers had to put the ball in the right areas, and to get early wickets in one-day cricket now is crucial. And I think the bowlers set up the game for us nicely, and then Guppy and I sort of set it off, and it was good to see for the first time in a long time personally to get through that power play and just bat each ball and put on a good partnership with Guppy.
Right, and what do you have to say about your own performance? You had 58 of 47 there.
Yeah, it was nice. I think we had some difficult training facilities the last 2 days on sort of like a half artificial surface out there, so you never quite found that you were in on those surfaces. So I was just trying to be mentally strong and trying to stay at each ball as well as you can, and try to do that as best as I can. I think sometimes last summer at home, I was trying to look too far ahead and be too aggressive, and it didn't come off. So try and be a little bit more play each ball as well as I can, and sometimes it's got my name on it and sometimes it doesn't.
You pick up the paper tomorrow morning, you'll say Sri Lanka 136. People will say minefield, green pitch, hard to bat on. It did look green, but did it do that much? Was it a 136, 137 pitch?
No, I don't think so. I think you looked at, even when Tisara Pereira came out and looked to be a little bit more positive and sort of commit to what he was trying to do, he looked really good. And I think when sometimes I think Sri Lanka, even back home in New Zealand conditions, sometimes when they do see the ball, one or two balls move, they do sit off the ball a little bit. And I thought our bowlers were outstanding today. Matt Henry came in and bowled really, really well. The ground name came in for a couple of overs, did his job, and then obviously Satner came on and got a big wicket of Pereira.
Was that West Indies game a kick in the pants, or was it just one of those things that you took a little bit out of, or was it a bit of a comeuppance?
Oh, I think you never want to give up 400, whether it's in a warm-up game or not. So the bowlers had a hard look at themselves and came away with what they can do better, and I thought they did that today. And outstanding performance with the ball. I thought our fielding today was outstanding as well. We showed energy, and that's what we can sort of regard ourselves as. Sometimes it's going to work with the bat and the ball, but if we can create intensity in the field, then that's something that we can come on.
Great. Thank you so much, Munro. I'm looking forward to some great performances from you in the World Cup. Thanks a lot.
Cheers. Thanks very much.
Cheers,
Thank you. And Ian, we spoke about how they lost to West Indies, but now they've come back strong, the very first game of the Cricket World Cup. But if you talk about the New Zealand team, we've seen the positives out here, but which team do you think that they'll fear the most, or they might just rack up against?
I don't even think they look that far ahead like you and I can. Yeah. I think that in the back of their mind they know that England are powerhouses. They know that India, what they did to India at the Oval, that won't happen again. Yeah. They also know that there's dangerous sides who now have to win games like South Africa. You've got Australia who just about to get their game and their World Cup underway, and always New Zealand versus Australia. That's big, very, very big. So hey, look, what they're looking at, I think, are little blocks. And the first block is the first 10 days, where they've got Sri Lanka, which they've just won. Yeah. They've got Bangladesh, and then they've got Afghanistan. Now, on paper, they're games New Zealand should win if you look at form across the world. But I'm not saying that they will, because both those sides are capable of upsets, and that will happen at some stage throughout this World Cup.
Right, but if you have to, we saw some great performances from them out here right now, but if you have to pick up a loophole in the team, what would it be?
I still think when the bowling's put under real pressure, as we saw the West Indies do to them, I think that's an issue. They're not going to get a green surface to bowl on. Sometimes they're going to have to bowl second. And that's going to test them, whether they've got that ability to strike early or whether they've got that ability to able to contain runs and take wickets throughout the innings. That's still a question mark for me. So I think there's plenty of power in the batting. We only had to see 2 batsmen today. There's plenty more to come sitting in the dressing room watching, but I still believe that the bowling is the question mark for me under pressure.
Yeah, and if we talk about Sri Lanka, how does their side look? Well, I have to say that Dimuth out there stood steady and led the team quite literally.
Oh, look, he was outstanding. He just found no help.
Yeah.
You know, there was no real partnership of note that they could hang a decent score on, and that was the issue. He looked capable of battling 35, 40 overs by himself, but the rest of them looked a little bit stage struck. I think quite often when batsmen turn up to a ground, batsmen in particular, they look at a pitch and they think, it's green. It's going to be so hard to bat on the surface. I can't possibly get runs today. I better get a quick 20 or I better get a quick 30 because that ball's got my name on it somewhere along the line. So I think Sri Lanka were a little bit guilty of that. Sure, it was green. Sure, it did a little bit. But we're playing on grass outside. It's supposed to do that from every now and then.
Right. Well, coming back to the New Zealand side, I have to say that Martin Guptill, you know, Cricket World Cup seems to be his stage, and it's showtime for him whenever the Cricket World Cup is on.
Listen, he's fantastic. I'll tell you something else. He likes batting in England, and he likes scoring big in England. I think he's a really good player, particularly. I don't think we saw the best of him today. He wasn't put under a lot of pressure. But when he strikes the ball, when he hits the ball down the ground and stays in that pose, you know Martin Guptill's pretty close to his best form. I think he's going to have a very good World Cup, but he has to from New Zealand's point of view. They have to do a lot of damage at the top of the order when they're batting if they want to score the 300 plus scores, which they didn't have to do today. But they will, they'll have to.
Right. And if there are some adjustments that if you have to make in the Sri Lankan team, what would it be?
Well, I don't know if sometimes you can have a knee-jerk reaction and say, he's got to go, he's got to go, he's got to go. But it was a collectively bad performance today, to be honest. I don't blame the bowlers because they had really nothing to bowl at. But from a batting point of view, I think you sit them down and you say, that wasn't good enough. I don't know if I have to tell you that anyway. You should know that. 136 is just not good enough. So, hey, listen, as a group, you guys fix it and we'll fix it together rather than saying, that's the end of your World Cup and push the panic button. Don't do that.
Yeah, but today was all celebration time for Kane Williamson. Let's find out what he had to say.
Yeah, a great start for us. Obviously to win the toss and take a few early wickets was pretty important on that surface, and I guess to apply that pressure for the 30 overs that we bowled was a fantastic effort from our bowlers.
A bit will be said about the pitch. Forget yourself as a New Zealand captain or a batsman, just as a cricket thinker. Is there a problem with occasionally playing on pitches like that?
No, I don't think there's a problem with it. Obviously, I think with the new ball in both innings, you're going to expect some movement. You know, when you're able to bowl a side out for a lowish total, then naturally it's going to be quite a tough thing to defend. Guys are going to come out and play shots, and all of a sudden that ball that's full and doing a little bit doesn't become as threatening because the cricket's not as conventional. So I thought that obviously it offered a little bit, but it was sort of slowish movement. So you know, it's one of those sort of surfaces that if you could kind of see off the new ball a little bit old school, then who knows, you might be able to get a few more. Obviously it stopped doing much for us sort of towards the back end, but we were fortunate to get early wickets and sort of bowl Sri Lanka out.
Well, the Kiwis have picked up the momentum, and that's a very, very happy captain out there, but there's a very long tournament ahead of him. But having said that, you know, in the very first 10 overs, the Kiwis did put the set right, and a lot of credit out there to Matt Henry.
Listen, Redeemer, this is an interesting scenario, and you see this in sport a lot. Some guy who probably wouldn't have played gets given an opportunity. Had Tim Southey have been fit, Matt Henry wouldn't have played today. And it's one of those great sports stories where you give a guy just open the door a wee bit and he walks straight through. And that's what happened today to Matt Henry. 3 wickets early on, bowling a really good length. It's almost as if to say you took that punishment the other day, but you worked hard and you deserve a little bit of success, and he got it. And, you know, that set up the tone for the day.
We're talking about the bowlers, and we have to, because along with Matt Henry, we had Lockie Ferguson out there who got 3 another for them.
Well, Lockie Ferguson has become very much a fixed part of this New Zealand side in a short space of time. And the reason why is he can bowl 150 kilometres per hour often. And in the back of any batsman's mind, 150, if it hits you, it hurts. So you're always thinking about that. And I think we saw that today from a couple of the Sri Lankan batsmen who weren't that keen on getting in line and taking him on, rather playing him from further away from the ball. So that was a factor, and that's always going to work in that way. Look, Lockie Ferguson, every day he bowls, he learns. And I think that in the years to come, if he stays fit and sound and bowling that fast, it wasn't always the case, he's going to be a real trump for New Zealand.
Well, I guess, and we're going to see great things from New Zealand. Well, thank you so much, Ian. Thanks a lot. Well, you know where to catch all the updates and highlights and news. Well, it's at the rate ICC Cricket World Cup. So stay tuned to our digital channel for more updates. See you later.
Two sides with a huge amount of World Cup pedigree.
You should call me before I go, 'cause I got options.
That's very close.
There's something good though in feeling more. You should call me before I go.
Big hands.
Stand by.
That is superb.
There's a million other
Lockie
people
Ferguson.
here tonight.
It's been given.
You know I could have a good one if I like.
How big a scalp is that?
Yeah, you ain't got no till
And another one goes.
I can't stay on standby.
They have started their World Cup campaign